Welcome to FBB Forum. This podcast is dedicated to all the amazing muscle ladies. Thank you for tuning in. I'm very pleased to welcome the gorgeous IFBB Pro Women's Physique competitor, Marika Jones, to the podcast. Marika has had a very busy year. After winning her pro card last year at the Teen, Collegiate, and Masters Nationals, she has competed in 5 shows for her pro debut year and has really made a really big statement on stage, honestly. Her highest placing this year was the Atlanta Pro, where she placed second. And stay tuned to find out where she competes next. Welcome, Marika. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. You really, like I said, made a big statement, I think, on stage, and you looked amazing up there. I saw you compete live at 2 shows. You did Shreveport, right?
Yes, I
Shreveport and
did
Tampa.
Shreveport. Yep, Shreveport, Atlanta, then Tampa. But yeah, and here we are.
We were talking about you're probably pretty tired, I bet.
I am. I'm tired, but also like the person in me is just like I'm so close. Like you can
Yeah.
you can do it. You can keep pushing, and I just feel like if I keep showing up, and I know there's a part of being a rookie pro, it's like you're starting over from the beginning again. You just
Yeah.
have to keep showing up and keep showing them that you want it, and that's all I can do.
That's true. Yeah, the judges will get to know you better that way too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Now, I was curious, how did or when you uh I can't talk today. Did you have an athletic or sports background before you started bodybuilding?
I did. I've always been an athletic kid. I actually grew up dancing with a professional children's company. So here in St. Louis, we have something called the Muni. It's like our Broadway, essentially. So I've done several of those shows. I grew up dancing with Catherine Dunham Children's Company out of East St. Louis,
Okay.
and I've always been interested in sports. My sister she's the dancer, she's the ballerina, she still dances. She's about to actually, she's got accepted to a doctorate program in dance. So that's her life, but it was affordable. I wanted to do gymnastics or ice skating, and I think being that my mom had multiple children in different sports, dance was easier. So I kind of taught myself how to tumble, like flipping off bicycle racks and just trial and error. And thank goodness I never hurt myself as a kid. And then it kind of evolved. My grandfather put me in gymnastics when I was like 14, but by that point in time, I already taught myself how to tumble the wrong way. And then I
Uh-huh.
was tall at that point in time, but I still did gymnastics, and it kind of morphed into competitive cheerleading, which
Oh,
I got my scholarship in college to go to Morehead State in
okay.
Kentucky. Kentucky is a huge cheerleading state.
Yeah.
And I won 2 national championships there with
Wow.
them. And I've just always been athletic and moving.
That's great. You can tell when you're posing on stage, you definitely seem to have a good dance background.
And what's ironic? Like, I do not like doing opposing routines, and I kind of am trying to wrap my head around it because, like, in my mind, wrapping my head around merging dance and posing
Hmm.
and into a beat is something I'm still learning a little bit about. Even though I should know how to do it, and I'm not afraid to be in front of people and moving and dancing, it still is something that I'm trying to get more comfortable with to find my flow with it.
Sure. I understand that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I definitely understand that. I was curious, now how did you get started in bodybuilding and who convinced you to do your first contest?
Um, Well, I just kind of like, so, I have a daughter. She'll be 15 next month. And, after I left college. I started my master's program, and I was still competing. And then I found out that I was going to have a baby. And so I finished my first year of my master's program, or my first semester of my master's program. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go home. You go home and you have your family and just feeling like, because I was never the kid to party, never was the kid to party, never. I literally went straight from high school, straight to college, straight into a master's program. I was super dedicated to my sport. And then after I had my daughter, I was like, party, like, so if you're at that point in time where you're having fun and you're going out and you're eating chicken wings all night, so I ended up becoming one of those new year, new me people. Like I would go work out and my body still snap back, after having my daughter and just having that young metabolism. And then
Mm-hmm.
as I got older, the metabolism wasn't metabolism the way it was supposed to be. So I was like, okay, we got
Yeah.
to do something. So in 2015, I was like one of those new year, new me people. I had a friend, it's like an uncle who had started working with a guy, and he was like, well, come to Planet Fitness with me. And we kind of started working out together. And he was like, I'm gonna do a show. And I was like, I've always wanted to do one. In college, I had a sorority sister who is a pro in Moorhead, Kentucky. So
Mm-hmm.
I would see her and I always wondered how people got into it, how you even go. And I didn't even know where to start. So I started talking to this gentleman, and he was cool. Like the coach that my friend was working with, he was cool, but it just wasn't the vibe I was looking for. And so I found another um, prep coach and prep team here in St. Louis where you can go in. And I was like, well, let's do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
started out in the natural world. I ended up becoming an IPE pro in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And then I merged over to NPC in 2017, where I realized that I work better not having to be surrounded by a bunch of people because I feel like people talk too much when they work out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started going by myself. And after sucking it up the very first show I did, I was like, oh no, you can do better. It's just not my spirit to like lose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I came back harder the next time, got my pro card in IP, and I was like, yeah, this is cool, but there's really no benefits. And it's nothing about the natural world. It's just, I don't think that there's a lot of benefits for athletes in the natural world. Maybe it is, maybe it's not.
Sure.
But I was looking at the Olympia, and at the time, I didn't know a whole lot about the different organizations. So
Yeah.
when I realized that that organization doesn't get me here, and it's not the same pro that is, I was like, oh, okay, we're working with the wrong one. Let's go to NPC and see where we go there. And
Sure.
that's kind of where we ended.
Oh, that's great. That's good that you ended up switching over to NPC. And
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think there's more prestige there. The natural ones are kind of obscure, really, you know.
They are, and it's some really great natural pro competitors that flip over or whatnot, but like
Yeah,
just the competitiveness isn't. I don't want to say it's not there, but it's not where I wanted it to be, me personally. So I was
sure.
just like, no, let's try NPC, and that's kind of when I started getting a bug and realizing that this is something that I really want to put my focus in.
Yeah, totally understand that. That's great that you did that. Now, I was curious when you first went up on stage in the bikini, was it kind of nerve-wracking or did you feel okay because you had the dance background and stuff?
I felt okay because I have the dance background and the cheer background. Half the time you're in Spanx and a cheerleading shirt, or a crop top and a cheerleading skirt. So it really didn't bother me, just because I've been in so many different leotards and stuff growing up. Like
Hmm.
that doesn't bother me at all. Like
Yeah.
being on stage in a bikini.
And but you get nervous just like you said, just trying to get your head around posing and dancing and
I
does
don't
that
get
make you nervous?
nervous. Well, I do get nervous and I don't get nervous. Like I
Yeah.
found my little niche that helps me when I compete. I think my very first pro show, I was like not freaking out, but like really nervous. Like, okay, can I do this? What am I doing? So like I was a little nervous in the St. Louis Pro, just because, you see so many people and they're like, oh, this person is coming, watch out for this person, watch out for that person. And so I had to figure out that, okay, I have to block out a lot of these channels. I have to get off, because it's kind of like, for lack of better words, a mind fuck. And I
Yeah.
just like, it's not for me. I like to be as serene and calm, and like people who know me is like, when I'm getting ready for the show, I'm in my room. I'm sleeping as much as possible to stop those intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Have a candle burning, incense. I sleep. My alarm goes off. Up. It's time to wake up. Pose. Eat. Send pictures to my coach. Go back to sleep and let my body rest as much as possible, so I don't hold on to any stress.
Yeah.
So I don't really. As I started doing more and more pro shows, and I realized that, and not to toot my own horn, but I was a top competitor. I was like, stop being scared to step on stage next to these girls. You are that girl too. So you have to show up. And I don't ever remember, like by the time I got to Tampa, I don't think I was nervous at all.
Really?
Like I was just
Great.
like, oh, okay, yeah, this is another one. Let's go.
That's
So it
very
was
good.
cool. I think I'm getting to that point where I'm just realizing like the work is done. There's no point in getting nervous. They're going to choose whoever they're going to choose, and that is what it is.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, you're right. And like I think I mentioned to you earlier, I just thought your back really stood out on stage. And I don't know if you've gotten that feedback from the judges, but your back is amazing.
I've always had a big back. I think me and my mom was just talking about this the other day because I used to be really self-conscious about it.
Hmm.
Because as a cheerleader, and I was on an all-girl team, so we had all-girl and co-ed.
Hmm.
And so I was always like pretty much squat pressing girls over my head and twisting them up and catching them.
Wow.
So if you're doing that 3-day practices for 2 and 3 hours while you're tumbling, twisting, throwing people up, it's like my traps are so developed just from that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
And
understand.
so my back just got bigger and bigger over time. And I wasn't even in college, I wasn't lifting weights like that or doing any of that. I was lifting people,
Yeah.
but not weights. And I remember guys would be like, "Oh my God, your back is bigger than mine." And I would be so self-conscious about it because my
Oh
sister
yeah.
had this pretty dancer back. And here I am with this big old back. And it's something that bothered me when I was younger. But as I
Yeah.
got, but in this sport, it's celebrated. So it works for me. And I'm happy, I'm proud of my back. And people think that all I do is back. I don't. I very rarely do a lot of back exercises, nor do I
Oh,
deviate from like standard back exercises. Like I
really?
just keep it simple,
Yeah.
and it's it does what it does.
Yeah. No, it does. That you really stand out with that. That makes sense too, with throwing people around like that too. You get some
That's
strong
all it
touch.
is. It's like throwing and catching and holding people over your head all day. It
Yeah.
definitely builds the muscle, and obviously with my genetics, I have very dense muscle, so
Yeah.
it's not very hard for me to put my mind muscle connection together to make those areas that I am looking for grow. So I don't
Yeah.
lift super heavy. I'm too old to be blowing out my knees and my elbows and stuff like that. I would like to have
Yeah.
a long career. So
Hmm.
you have to train smart.
Hmm. That's true.
So
Yeah, that's true. Very true. That's good that you do that too. Now, in terms of competing, I know you've done several shows this year, and you, as we said, placed as high in Atlanta as second in Atlanta. I was curious, what show has been your favorite so far this year?
oh, Atlanta for sure.
Yeah.
Atlanta for sure. Not just because of the placing, the whole event. I just thought it was run really well. I love the fact that they take a minute to address all of the athletes, like introduce the judges, introduce themselves, thank us for being the athletes that we are. Linda Murray came and talked to us and did different things,
Mhm.
and then they called us up one by one, shook our hand, gave us the stuff. It was a slow check-in, but I admired that they took the time to like look us in the eyes, shake our hand, and not just treat us like a number.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just the fact that the host hotel was so close to the actual venue, and
Hmm.
they made a whole video of walking to the venue. It was literally right there up the street. They did have a shuttle, and the shuttle would be like, "Hey, you guys want to ride? You can just hop in."
Okay.
It was just done in a way that really protected us in our stress levels. I really like that a whole lot.
That's terrific. That's really cool. I didn't realize Atlanta was so good. I wonder if that's because Linda is involved with it too, since she was a
It
competitor.
could be. What I was thinking about it, I was like, I wish that every show would have some type of survey to see what they did really well at, what they could have improved in.
Hmm.
Um, because, there's definitely a show where I was like, I probably won't ever come back and do the show, and I won't say it just because I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. I
Okay.
just didn't like the way it was run in terms of putting amateurs in front of pros.
Oh
And there's
yeah.
nothing against amateurs. It just made the day really long for pros. And
Yeah.
I just, pro women particularly, I just didn't kind of agree with that. So it
Yeah.
just didn't fit well with what I would love. But also, the one thing I also flagged about Atlanta is they started they started the pros at 11 a.m., which was
Hmm.
great for women because when you start us at 8 a.m., we're up at like 2 in the morning trying to feed our bodies, get hair, makeup, nails, and stuff done. So
Yeah.
by the time you step on stage, you're flat, you haven't filled out, you're still just trying to get the stress levels down of just moving all day.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta was so seamless because one, a girl who did my makeup came to my room, which was amazing. But I didn't have to rush. I didn't have to get up super early and have a super long day.
Yeah.
It was just like boom, boom, boom. So I really wish that everyone would adopt that, where it's like 11 o'clock for the pros.
Yeah.
Instead of 11 o'clock for men. They don't get up and do hair and makeup. They literally roll out of bed and eat and go. So we just have so much more to do in the morning. So when you start us at 8 a.m. in the morning, it's just a long day.
Yeah.
And you're stressed out. And our body holds more stress than men sometimes.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Even from a fan perspective, like getting up at 8 a.m. and and I don't think they're going to get as good of attendance either for prejudging if it's that early, because people just aren't awake quite yet, so probably not selling many tickets. So
I would love for them to do like a post-show survey with the athletes and really take our concerns and us see the change that could happen time over time with it. And maybe that's my thought process in being in management and the type of company I'm in. I'm always looking for feedback, even from my direct reports or my leadership or retro on a project that I'm doing, to understand where we did really well and where we could have improved, so we don't make those same mistakes. I think it would be beneficial
for even a fan survey too, because I think getting the fan feedback could help improve the fan experience as well. I love that idea.
Get more people into the audience, because the energy is palpable, so it helps. Like being in Atlanta, I have a lot of friends in Atlanta. My best friend lives in Atlanta. I know a lot of the Atlanta competitors. So to come out and hear people screaming my name, I didn't even know who it was. And my boss lives in Atlanta, so she showed up. It was just the energy. You could feel the energy of people cheering you on versus it being super quiet. You're on stage and you're trying not to let those thoughts like, am I squeezing tight enough? Or what do my legs look like? Or the judge is looking at me. Now you have people screaming for you and cheering you on to keep you moving. Yeah. So it's important.
I agree. I think that's really important. Yeah, that's a good point. Now you mentioned that you might compete again this year, and where might you compete? And I wanted to mention too, I think it's just tough to prep for several shows in a row, but you've really done a great job, I think.
It is. I think the longer that's in between shows is harder. So those 2 weeks in between, I was like, oh, I can do it. I got 2 more weeks in me. And so it's like, that's what, 2 more cardio sessions every day and every night. You're adding all the stuff up. But when it's like weeks in between, it's really rough. Yeah. But I'm competing again as of now in Daytona. September 30th is what I am looking into. I'm probably going to do Masters WPD, because now they have 35 plus. And Open is what I'm looking into.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope to attend that show. So maybe I'll see you down there. That's a good show.
Obviously I've never done it. So we're going to see, and that's the good thing about doing so many shows and putting yourself out there. You learn so many different things and how different shows are run and all of that. Next year, I'm aiming for the big shows too. I mean, Tampa was a huge show. Yeah. I was intimidated by Chicago Pro because you just hear about the big Chicago Pro, but I'm looking to do the big shows next year too, see what happens.
That's great. Yeah. Tampa is big. There was a really good lineup in Tampa. So yeah, I was
proud of myself. Of course I always want a higher placing, but I was proud of myself content, especially with the 2 Olympians. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember seeing her at the Olympia and she was beautiful. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, just go up here and give it your best shot is kind of what you think. But I was really proud of myself getting first call outs at Tampa,
Yeah, you did. That was awesome. Yeah, you looked really good. Well, you placed 5th there, right?
I placed 5th.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you definitely deserved it. You looked great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, as we mentioned, you earned your pro card last year at Teen Collegiate and Masters. I was curious, what was that experience like, and was it exciting to get your pro card?
It was. I have been competing in national shows pretty consistently over the years, and just in 2021. So 2020, I ruptured my Achilles.
Oh, wow.
Right at the start of my season, I was in prep for a show and I ruptured my Achilles, and then the world ended with COVID. So it all happened in a perfect timing. My company went fully remote by that point in time. So it was just so many things was like, all right, maybe I look at things like that, like something is telling you to take a step, chill, I'm
Yeah.
glad that I took that not glad it happened, but I'm kind of glad it happened. It gives you perspective, right? So I gained all this weight and trying to hammer it down. I was with a coach, and just wasn't a very good coach, wasn't a very good team to be a part of. And after I did the first initial show coming back with that coach, which was the Puerto Rico Pro qualifier, but it was in Bahamas that year.
Yeah.
I just realized it wasn't for me. I wasn't getting what I needed, and it just wasn't my vibe. So I reached out to my current coach now, who is also a friend of mine, just meeting him over social media, and we were like, let's do this. So to go, and I think we started getting my body back into a very good shape. And then we ended up second place in women's bodybuilding. It was the first time I did women's bodybuilding. And I was like, oh, all right. Second place is, of course you want to win, but it is what it is. And so when I got to Teen and Masters Nationals, I was just focused on trying to get as lean as possible. And I was so nervous, but I had a friend who came with me, and I competed, and then they came back later because they had just gotten their pro card and competed in the actual Masters division. So it was cool to just have somebody there and a few people there with me to kind of share that experience. But I literally almost passed out because you had to win your actual category and then win the overall.
Oh yeah.
And I did women's physique there, and I got second because they were only giving a class winner, which I really don't agree with. I don't talk bad about competitors, but even when I look at the pictures, I'm like, I don't understand how this person really took first. But I'm not a judge. I can't say anything. But luckily, it worked out in my favor. At least I got one of them. And I just remember, like, every now and again, I watched the video again, and I just remember thinking, I'm going to pass out. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to breathe because I'm just waiting to hear my number. And so it was a good experience. It was a very good experience. The people backstage were really nice. And I think something unfortunate happened, like the commentator actually passed. So when we came back, a lot was happening. Yeah, it was like a good friend of theirs passed that morning or something happened.
Wow.
And the only thing that kind of sucked is because I did multiple categories, they took my pro card and my trophy. I was like, we'll hold it back here. So then when I went back to go get it, they had given my trophy to somebody else.
Really?
And so the guy was going to be like, did you win? What's your name? And I'm like, I wouldn't be back here if I didn't win my pro card. Can you please give me? So I have an unmarked trophy because they had to take the sticker off and just give me a trophy. So my marker is not on my trophy that says the overall bodybuilding winner.
Really? That's so weird.
That was the only thing that kind of sucked about it.
That kind of makes it more memorable though, too.
Yeah. I can always get a little plaque put on it, but it's mine. I got it. They recognize me on NPC as a pro, so I'll take it.
Oh no, that's terrible that somebody took your trophy like that.
I'm like, did you not read it? And it shows, like, because somebody had to have handed it to them because they had all the trophies backstage. I'm like, you didn't read that it says 35 plus women's bodybuilding overall? Like, you would know. But it's, like I said, it's okay. It's mine. I got it. And we enjoyed Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is beautiful. The food is great. It was, it was a good experience. Like, I would definitely go back to Pittsburgh for any reason because of that experience.
That's terrific. That's really cool. Yeah, I bet it was really exciting. Now you had mentioned winning your pro card in the women's bodybuilding division, but you've competed in women's physique this year. But I was curious if you'd consider doing women's bodybuilding again as a pro.
I would. I feel like it's funny because Linda Murray mentioned it in like the retro of Atlanta, where they were saying that my back is overpowering. And I'm like, but I only have a big back. That doesn't mean I have quads and everything else. You know what I mean? And so I would, just not right now. I'm just trying to find out my footing, figure out where I belong. Where right now I'm doing pretty well in women's physique.
Yeah.
And I don't plan on really adding a whole lot of size to my body, maybe more quads to kind of match up with my upper body. But ultimately, for me, off season, I already gain a lot of weight. I don't want to be walking around like super heavy all of the time, but I don't know. I'm not saying no, because I think that
Sure.
there's beauty in women's bodybuilding as well. And it's a lot of beautiful, women bodybuilder competitors.
Yeah.
And I went to Olympia and I talked to Andrea Shaw, and she was like, don't go down. Stay in women's bodybuilding. And I was like, but sis, I don't know because I gotta grow. And so we'll just kind of play it by ear. If I go to Daytona and I win Daytona and I get my Olympia qualification, then we're in women's physique, at
Yeah.
least for this year until I get more feedback and kind of figure out where my footing is. I'm going to figure out what that means for me.
Sure. That's cool. No, I definitely understand that. Um, I wanted to ask you about a little bit about family and home life and work life. And are your parents, they're still alive?
Yeah, my mom is.
Oh,
Yeah, my dad isn't in my life, but my mom is.
I was curious, is she supportive of your bodybuilding career?
She is. She doesn't understand it. She understands it more now, but before she didn't. I remember my mom was like, "We need to do an intervention because we think that you're hurting your body." I said, "Listen, I said I'm hurting my body by working out, but yet everybody is drinking constantly. What are you talking about?" And
Yeah.
so, like, I had to have like a real conversation, and she understands. And I remember normally she doesn't understand it, but this year she was like, I was like, I think I'm gonna do another show. And normally she's like, oh, don't you know? And this year she was like, what do you want? She was like, what do you think? I said, I think I can do it. She said, well, then let's go. I said, that's what I needed to hear. Thanks, mom.
That's
So
good.
it's been great. Like, she's definitely supportive.
That's terrific. And you mentioned your daughter is 15. Is she supportive of your career too, bodybuilding career?
She is. And when I won my pro card, she was the first person I called, or she's like, what call out did you get? Like, cause she's starting to learn like different sayings and different things.
Mhm.
And but she's definitely supportive now. She'll go to the gym because she's like at that page. She's like, I need to go to the gym. So she'll go, and she wants to, like, she loves doing videography and photography and stuff. So I get a lot of people who want more content, and I'm just like, okay, I'll have to plan a content day. I'll have to take my daughter to the gym with me. She can just, eventually I'm going to buy her a camera and like
Mm,
let her do all of that different types of stuff, but she's definitely supportive.
that's terrific. That's cool. Does she want to be like her mom and do bodybuilding with it?
She wants no part of being a bodybuilder. And
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that could change over years, but
Uh-huh.
being in and out of the gym as a kid, because her father is involved in like athletics and different stuff like that. So he kept her in the gym, but she's like, no, I don't want any part of that. And I don't force her. She's more like theater. She's done a lot of like theater camps, and learn how to run productions at because my family is a part of a black theater company here. So my mom's the house manager, my brother-in-law is the co-founder and the director, my sister's a choreographer. So she's
Wow.
learned all the ins and outs of like stage life and how to work the tech lights for actual productions that they put on. So
Wow.
that's her lane. I don't force her to be super athletic. When she wants to, I'm there with
Sure.
signs and a t-shirt.
That's terrific about the theater though. That's really neat and not just a hobby, but could be a career later too, maybe. So yeah.
Could be. My daughter wants to rap. She wants to do everything up under the sun. So, and I'll let her try every single thing that she wants to try until she figures out what that is. I mean, I learned how to do tattoos when I was 15 because I could draw.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
now she's like, I want to learn how to do tattoos. And I say, I'll teach you how to do tattoos. So,
Great. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I remember when you interviewed with George Page, you talked about, I think your left arm was where you tattooed, but you couldn't do your other
yep.
arm because
Yep.
you're right-handed, I
Because
guess.
I'm right-handed. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm just about out of space on this arm, but I mean, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna leave my legs alone for a little bit. I have done a lot of tattoos on my legs, but I'm gonna leave them alone
Really.
just because I want my body to be able to be shown as much as possible, and tattoos
Yeah.
do hide your lines.
Yeah, I think you're right. I find it kind of distracting. Yeah, as
It
a
is,
fan.
it's a little bit like, that's why,
Mhm.
even though this side is my best side on certain things, I do this arm because you can't see my triceps. So I'm leaving my arms and my back alone. Like, the way my
Yeah.
tattoos look now, they don't distract from my muscles. So it works, but I'm
Mhm.
going to leave it alone for a little bit.
Sure, I understand. Um, and you mentioned on George Page's podcast, you have like a corporate management job, and you mentioned a little bit about it. I was curious
Mhm.
about your coworkers and your direct reports supporting your bodybuilding career, and I was thinking it would be awkward to have such a gorgeous boss like you, you know?
They're super supportive. My team, like every now and again, they're like, how's your show go? And so I'll post pictures and I have to warn them. I'm like, hey, we're on a corporate setting. I'm in a bikini. So if you don't agree with it, that's fine. We can post it someplace else. And everybody's pretty cool. When we were in the office, people would be like, who's warming up fish? And I'm like, it's me. And I don't care. So they're super supportive. My company is super supportive. As you know, my lead came to my show. She brought donuts. They are pretty awesome. They know what I do. They're super proud of me.
Great.
And luckily I work for a company that gives me unlimited PTO. So like I take what's needed. And most of the time I'm always working anyway. So they know if I'm not there, they could call me and ask me questions. So and I'm pretty goal oriented. So the same way I tackle bodybuilding, I tackle my job. So they know if I'm on something, I'm getting it done.
Yeah.
And I'm also getting this part of it done as well too.
Okay, very cool. That'd be bad though if you're on stage and you get a call, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, my boss did call me like in between prejudging and finals in Tampa. And she was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm at a show. I just competed. She was like, oh my God, I forgot. I was like, it's fine. I got time to talk. We're good. So
that's very cool. That's great that they're so supportive too.
They are.
Now we just have a few more minutes. I think get a couple more questions in. Do you kind of find it hard to juggle the demands of work and home life with your bodybuilding career?
No, not really. I've been with my company it'll be 5 years on Sunday, actually.
Great.
So I've been here for the start of the iteration, like as it's grown over the years. So I pretty much know how to navigate that. And most of the time, like they know on my lunch break, I'm going to the gym. So even if they call me on my lunch break, you're in the gym? Okay, quick, I got a question. So it's really like they know I'm going to get it done. They know when, I have my schedule pretty much mapped out, and I'm pretty organized. So when I wake up, before I go to sleep at night, I'm like, okay, how many meetings do I have? Where are my meetings? Where are my time frames? What do I have to get done? What can I get done at a later date? And so I just kind of organize it that way. It's not too bad.
That's great. That's really cool. That's good that you're organized like that too. I think everybody I've talked to on this podcast, it seems like you have to be organized because it is 24/7 lifestyle, and it's a kind of all-encompassing kind of sport, I think.
Yeah, it's you definitely have to compartmentalize so many different aspects, whether it is your family, a love relationship, work, demands of like, and just pouring into yourself. Like the gym is my me time, but also when I'm not in the gym, I still have to pour into myself and make sure I'm resting and getting what I need mentally and physically and emotionally. So it's important.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. I was curious if we talked a little bit about this with the survey, but if you were like in a leadership position with IFBB or NPC, what do you think you would do to try to improve the sport of bodybuilding, and how would you make the sport better?
I think that it would be more beneficial when surveys after each, because there's going to be promoters that are going to pop up everywhere. How are they treating your athletes? Are the athletes taken care of? It's the venue. I know that venue and money takes a toll in it, but like also I think that women athletes or athletes should be paid a little bit more, but that's a whole nother thing, right? But the one thing that I would love is like cohesion. Like we know different judges judge different ways. So now all of the athletes who feel like the judges are going to lean more their way or trying to figure out who the judges are to go to that show. And I wish that the criteria was taken into consideration more versus what they like. But we also know that it's a subjective sport. But if all of the judges could get on the same page, I think that it would make the sport a little bit more enjoyable versus, you're putting it all in and you just know, but we all know it's subjective. So it's like, you can't really take it personal. You could take it personal if you're a shitty sport, but ultimately it would just be great if all of the judges across really followed the criteria, or at least got on the same page of what the criteria should be.
I understand.
Is what I would really think would be a better thing. And also I think it would be great to really cut down on the deadly aspect of it. Like, and that's what happens with the differing opinions of the different judges. And let's just say one judge is like, you need to be bigger. And then they go and do all these things to get bigger. And then they're too big and they're harming their body. And then they go here and they're like, oh, you're too big. And now, you know what I mean? if you don't know who you are as a person, you can really get lost in this. I would love for IFBB to figure that out, as well as cut down on some of the shitty coaches. Like, it's a
Yeah.
lot of coaches that are just taking money, giving harmful substances to people with no rhyme or reason and no actual research or degree or anything in this. And granted, we are adults and we should be looking for that, but there are a lot of more younger people getting involved. And it's super harmful for women and what that changes in a woman's body, you know what I mean? And men. So I would love to see more of a foot down on that type of stuff.
We're about to get cut off. I think